And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather graphic here for tomorrow showing a band of IFR pushing eastward here across the Bering Sea, and a pretty extensive zone of IFR here from Nikolsky all the way back out to the west. Marginal VFR here, eastern Bering Sea into the portions of the southwest interior, and some marginal VFR here in the central part of the state on up to areas of the Brooks Range. Not too bad here, south central Alaska, or areas south and east of the Alaska Range, right on down to Fognak Island, Prince William Sound, and the Panhandle, mostly VFR. And for the afternoon, conditions deteriorate a little bit, becoming mostly marginal VFR there for the southeast coast. Marginal VFR moisture on the increase here, spreading up into Prince William Sound and at least into the mountains of the Coast Range here. Otherwise, not too bad, good VFR in the interior. Cook Inlet, but marginal VFR up even to the south coast of the Kenai Peninsula. And we've got marginal VFR, Koyukuk, Kobuk Valley on out to the northwest coast, covering the western areas here. North Slope VFR, and a narrowing band of IFR here as weakening front edges eastward here, coming down across the Pribilof Islands and into the Alaska Peninsula with marginal VFR for the eastern Aleutians, becoming VFR for there for Atka Island. Then just west of Adak on out to the Komondorskis, IFR. And then that area of IFR slides eastward here Wednesday night and into Thursday morning to about a position like this, covering much of the central Aleutians here. Another zone of IFR here, Yukon Delta, actually Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, Nunivak Island up to the Bering Strait. Better conditions inland with still quite a bit of VFR around, some marginal VFR possible there for the Brooks Range. Narrow band of IFR extending from western Prince William Sound, the Whittier Portage area, along the Coast Range here, eastward there to north of Yakutat, into Lynn Canal and Glacier Bay, and then down along the eastern border of the Panhandle. And then for the afternoon, VFR conditions hold over the southeast coast. This narrow band of IFR also holds here, a little more extensive in Prince William Sound though, and areas of marginal VFR for south central Alaska, mostly VFR here for the northern Kuskokwim Valley, up along the Yukon and Tanana Valley there with marginal VFR back into the Brooks Range. North slope to the Arctic coast, looking pretty nice for the afternoon Thursday. Marginal VFR here, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, again along the southwest interior, and especially the coastline there. And then a band of IFR here from St. Matthew Island, right on down across the Pribilofs to the eastern Aleutians, pushing into the Alaska Peninsula and covering most of Nunivak Island. As you can see here, improving pretty nicely as you head to the west. And for the passes for tomorrow, both Anatuvik and Adigan should be VFR on either approach throughout the day Wednesday. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. Rainy, VFR. Windy, VFR. And Isabel and Mentasta, another VFR day for those passes. And Tanita looking pretty good, although you see an increase in the clouds thickening and lowering throughout the day. Should stay VFR though. And for Portage, VFR between marginal VFR, and that probably will take place mid to late morning hours. It'll go to VFR or marginal VFR there, and continue to slowly deteriorate through the afternoon, possibly reaching IFR in that eastern approach by tomorrow evening. Otherwise, Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels here about 4,000 feet right along the North Gulf Coast here, down into the southwest coast as well, 2,000 feet here, Seward Peninsula, and to the western Arctic coast. About 4,000 to 6,000 feet or so for the Panhandle. And then a lot of warm air here pushing into the far western Aleutians, anywhere from 14,000 feet around Chimie-Attu to Adak, and then back down to 6,000 feet here for the Alaska Peninsula. And icing, we've got a band with that weakening frontal boundary here pushing eastward. So look for some areas of isolated moderate rime icing, St. Lawrence Island, down across Nunivak Island, Pribilofs into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. And then the heavier icing out here to the west with the next system sliding into Chimie-Attu, and that'll be pushing eastward Wednesday night and Thursday. And then for the North Gulf Coast, look for areas of rime or mixed icing here of the isolated moderate, mostly light varieties for the North Gulf Coast on down into the Panhandle, including Prince William Sound. And for the jet stream, main jet here on the east side, south of the Panhandle, and not too bad at 33,000 feet, mostly southerly flow around an upper level high here over the McKenzie River Delta, keeping it mild there for the northern interior areas to the Arctic coast. Strong jet though here over the Bering Sea, up to 150 knots over the north central Bering Sea. You can see northwest winds 170 knots here blowing down toward the eastern Aleutians. And at 9,000 feet, stronger winds showing up out to the west there at the developing storminess in that area, up to 70 knots in that location, otherwise northwesterlies 35 to 55 knots. Strongest over the east central Aleutians. Pretty light over the interior from the Gulf of Alaska right up to the Arctic coast, and maybe 25 knots, and that's about it here at 9,000 feet over the southern Panhandle. And then at 3,000 feet, light variable winds to the southeast coast, Gulf of Alaska, all of the interior from the North Gulf Coast to the Arctic coast into the Chukchi Sea. And we've got a band of 30 to 35 knot winds here from, well, right across St. Lawrence Island, and 30 to 35 knot northwest winds here for the central Bering Sea across the Pribilofs of the eastern Aleutians. And again, the winds picking up, becoming more westerly there out to the southwest of Shimianatu. You can see 65 knots coming onto the chart. And with those increasing winds, look for considerable moderate turbulence to be on the increase there for the western Aleutians. And also could see some mechanical moderate chop there for the eastern Aleutians for the day tomorrow. Otherwise, just light to isolated moderate turbulence possible with those southeast winds here from Nunivak Island, Cape Romanzoff up to St. Lawrence Island, and not bad elsewhere.